American Gangster isn't just a crime drama. It's a masterclass in strategy, branding, and risk management disguised as a Hollywood blockbuster. Frank Lucas built one of the most profitable and efficient operations in New York's underworld, applying principles that could rival the playbooks of Fortune 500 CEOs. From controlling the supply chain to mastering brand loyalty, his rise and fall offer timeless lessons for anyone serious about business. The tactics may have been illegal, but the logic behind them is razor sharp. Here are 8 powerful business lessons you can learn from Frank Lucas and why they still matter today. Lesson 1. Build a brand you can defend. In American Gangster, Frank Lucas isn't just another drug dealer. He's a businessman who understands the power of a name. He christens his product Blue Magic and treats it like a Fortune 500 brand. In one of the most memorable confrontations in the film, Lucas squares off with rival Nicky Barnes and delivers a line that could be ripped from a corporate branding seminar. Blue Magic, that's a brand name. Like Pepsi, that's a brand name. I stand behind it. I guarantee it. When you chop my dope down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%, and then you call it Blue Magic, that is trademark infringement. Lucas isn't just flexing his ego, he's defending his brand equity. Blue Magic wasn't famous because of its flashy marketing, but because it delivered exactly what it promised, a consistently pure product at a reliable price. People knew what they were getting every single time, and Lucas knew that once customers trust a brand, they'll return, even in a crowded market. This is the same principle that drives the world's most recognizable companies. When you buy Apple, Coca-Cola, or Nike, you expect a certain quality and experience, and those companies will fight tooth and nail to protect it. The moment quality slips, trust begins to erode, and that erosion is expensive, often impossible to reverse. The takeaway for entrepreneurs is simple. Make your brand mean something, then defend it relentlessly. Don't let imitators dilute your reputation. Consistency is your strongest sales pitch, and credibility is your most valuable currency. People will forget the hype, but they will remember how your brand made them feel and whether it delivered on its promise. Lesson 2. Cut out middlemen to control cost and quality. One of Frank Lucas's boldest moves was to bypass the mafia entirely. Traditionally, if you wanted to sell heroin in New York, you went through them, paying inflated prices for a product that was stepped on multiple times before it ever hit the street. Lucas refused to play by those rules. Instead, he flew directly to Southeast Asia, into the heart of the Golden Triangle, and negotiated with producers himself. He even arranged for the product to be shipped back, hidden inside US military planes returning from Vietnam. The result? Lucas could sell heroin that was both cheaper and purer than anything on the market. Competitors were offering street heroin with purity levels around 5%. Lucas's product was closer to 10%. That difference didn't just make it more potent, it gave him a powerful competitive edge. His customers could buy less and get more effects, and word spread fast. This is a textbook example of vertical integration in business. By controlling his supply chain from the source, Lucas eliminated unnecessary costs, maintained quality standards, and insulated himself from some of the volatility that plagued his competitors. Direct sourcing meant he didn't have to rely on unreliable intermediaries who could drive up prices, cut corners, or disrupt supply. Plenty of legit companies apply the same principle. Tesla invests heavily in battery production rather than depending solely on third-party suppliers. Warby Parker designs, manufactures, and sells its eyewear directly to customers. In each case, cutting out the middleman improves margins, strengthens brand control, and ensures a better product. For modern entrepreneurs, the lesson is clear. Own your pipeline. If you can source directly and control every link in the chain, you can deliver a superior product at a better price, and your competition will struggle to keep up. Lesson 3. Own the supply chain and standardize. In the world of American Gangster, Frank Lucas knew that power didn't come from having a product, it came from controlling it, every single step of the way. He didn't just buy heroin and resell it. He owned the process from the opium fields in Southeast Asia to the streets of Harlem. By sourcing directly from the Golden Triangle, bypassing the mafia middlemen, Lucas created a system where price, purity, and availability were completely under his control. In the film, his Blue Magic brand became legendary. Why? Because it was consistent. Customers knew exactly what they were getting every single time. The level of reliability built trust. Yes, even in the illegal drug market, and crushed his competitors. Reports say Lucas's product, after being cut, was still twice as pure as what others were selling. He turned that purity into a brand promise, and he protected it fiercely. This is vertical integration in its purest form. In legitimate business, it's the same logic that makes companies like Apple or Tesla so powerful. They own everything from design to delivery. It means fewer weak links, faster innovation, and unmatched quality control. But here's the flip side. When you own every link in the chain, you also own every point of risk. When law enforcement finally connected the dots, Lucas's empire collapsed quickly because every piece led back to him. Lesson 4. Stay invisible when it matters. For most of his career, Frank Lucas played a game most crime bosses couldn't. He stayed invisible. He dressed simply, avoided the spotlight, and let others take the heat. This low profile kept him under law enforcement's radar even as his empire expanded. That is, until the night of the Ali Frazier fight. In one of the film's most famous moments, Lucas walks into Madison Square Garden wearing a $100,000 chinchilla coat and matching hat. It was a gift from his wife, and to most people, it was just luxury. But to the detectives in the room, it was a neon sign that said, "Look at me." They noticed this man sitting in better seats than celebrity and mob bosses, dripping in fur. That one night of showing off cracked his invisibility cloak. Investigators started digging, and they didn't stop. In real life, Lucas later admitted that the coat was one of the worst mistakes of his career. The very next day, he destroyed it in the fireplace, realizing too late that his flash had cost him his anonymity. The business takeaway is simple. Discretion is a strategy. Just because you can show off your success doesn't mean you should. In highly competitive or regulated industries, visibility invites scrutiny, and scrutiny uncovers weaknesses. The best operators know when to be seen and when to blend into the background. Don't confuse brand visibility with personal exposure. Let your work shine, but keep your private wins private. The more insulated you are from unnecessary attention, the longer you can operate without interference. Lesson 5. Choose partners carefully and manage geopolitical risk. Frank Lucas didn't just rule Harlem streets. He built a supply chain that reached deep into the jungles of Southeast Asia. Using wartime chaos as cover, he tapped directly into the Golden Triangle, sourcing heroin at unmatched purity and price. His network leaned on military-adjacent logistics and routes used during the Vietnam War, giving him a near monopoly. It was bold, it was brilliant, and it was dangerously fragile. His entire advantage rested on a single geopolitical reality. One region, one conflict, one channel. If the war ended, if policy shifted, if even one insider turned, the whole thing could crumble overnight. That's exactly the kind of concentration risk that destroys businesses today. Lucas's own story became tangled in the infamous coffin smuggling rumor, but the fact people believed it shows how murky and dependent his setup was on wartime dynamics. In business, betting everything on one supplier, one political climate, or one route is a gamble with loaded dice. The fix? Redundancy. Diversify. Create multiple supply paths before you need them. Lucas's empire was a pipeline. A smarter empire would have been a web, strong enough to hold even when one strand snapped. Lesson 6. Recruit for trust, then professionalize. When Lucas built his crew, he didn't look at resumes. He looked at history. He brought in relatives and friends from his hometown in North Carolina, nicknamed the Country Boys. They were loyal, discreet, and dependable in a world where betrayal could be fatal. For a while, it worked perfectly. No leaks, no suspicion, no need to look over his shoulder. But loyalty is a double-edged sword. As his operation scaled, so did the complexity. Running an empire, legal or not, requires systems, oversight, and accountability. Without them, even trusted circles can rot from the inside. Resentment builds, mistakes get covered up, capability gaps go unnoticed until they explode. The real Frank Lucas discovered this the hard way. As his network grew, the lack of professional structure left him exposed. It's the same trap startups fall into when they keep everything in the family. Early success hides cracks until investors, customers, or law enforcement start asking hard questions. The truth is, trust is an amazing launchpad, but a terrible long-term foundation. The smart play is to scale loyalty with governance, audits, clear roles, measurable performance. Keep your circle loyal, but make your operations bulletproof. That way, when loyalty falters, the machine still runs. Lesson 7. Craft a clean, value-driven operation with a distinct brand. Frank Lucas didn't build his empire by flooding the streets with just another product. He built it by offering unmatched value. In a market where street heroin was usually 5% pure, Lucas's Blue Magic delivered around 10% purity after cutting, still twice as potent as the competition, and he sold it at a lower price. That combination of higher quality and lower cost made his brand the obvious choice, whether you were a street-level buyer or a wholesaler. The way Lucas pulled this off was simple in concept, but rare in execution. He sourced directly from Southeast Asia, bypassing the mafia, and controlled every link in the chain from the opium fields to the streets of Harlem. That lean supply chain allowed him to keep prices down without sacrificing purity, which in turn strengthened his brand. Customers didn't have to gamble on quality. They knew Blue Magic would deliver exactly what it promised every time. This is the same principle behind today's most competitive businesses. Companies like Warby Parker and Tesla win not just because of design or marketing, but because their operating models keep costs low while delivering superior value. By stripping away unnecessary steps and focusing on quality, they create a loyal customer base and a product that can't easily be copied. Lesson 8. Know when the game is changed and exit. Frank Lucas's operation was a masterpiece of timing. He exploited a unique moment in history, the chaos of the Vietnam War, to create a direct supply line from the Golden Triangle to New York. His heroin travels hidden in military-connected shipments, arriving faster, cheaper, and purer than anything competitors could touch. As long as the war raged, his system worked like clockwork, but the clock was always ticking. The Vietnam War was winding down, military transport routes were changing, and law enforcement was becoming more aggressive in targeting major suppliers. The geopolitical conditions that had made Lucas's empire possible were vanishing. Instead of adapting his business model or gradually pulling back, Lucas tried to keep running the same playbook. That decision left him fully exposed when the environment shifted, and the result was swift raids, indictments, and the collapse of his entire operation. This isn't just a story about drugs or law enforcement, it's a business case study in market timing. Industries change, regulations tighten, and consumer behavior evolves. The strategy that made you unbeatable in one era can be dead weight in the next. The leaders who survive aren't just good at scaling, they're good at reading the signs and making the hard choice to pivot or walk away. For modern entrepreneurs, the message is straightforward. Watch the horizon, not just your balance sheet. Build exit strategies into your growth plan. If your advantage depends on a specific set of conditions, whether that's a technology gap, a political climate, or a regulatory loophole, be ready to shift gears when those conditions change. Knowing how to build is important, but knowing when to leave the table can be the move that keeps you in the game for the long run. Frank Lucas proved that business success isn't just about what you sell. It's about how you build, protect, and adapt your operation. His story shows the rewards of smart strategy and the dangers of overconfidence. Whether it's branding, supply control, or knowing when to walk away, these lessons translate across industries and eras. The question is, are you building your business to last, or are you betting everything on a system that could collapse overnight? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Which of these 8 lessons do you think is the most important for long-term success?